So touring with Paul McCartney, you would think you'd get a lot of celebrities coming backstage and stuff, but we were in such far-flung places like, Japan and deep in South America and stuff. Never got anybody. I mean, if we were in London or something, because, George Harrison was still alive, I would have loved it if he came backstage and I could see the two of them together. I mean, seeing Paul alone is a treat, but two Beatles is better than one, I guess you'd have to say. But touring with Sting was a different story. Even though we also went to far-flung places like Vietnam and all throughout Europe and stuff, there was one time, it was like some kind of outdoor festival with a whole bunch of artists. Sting, Robert Plant, or maybe it was Plant Page, Neil Young, I can't remember who else, but a bunch of people there. And they're all there together, under one, it was an outdoor thing. So they were under one sky, I suppose you'd say. So I remember it was raining. I was the videographer for Sting there. I'm not going to bother nobody else, all these celebrities. And it was raining, and there was like a wooden ramp walkway, a very long one, with a scaffold over the top, protected from the rain. And I'm walking there with my camera. And lo and behold, in front of me, I see in the distance Neil Young walking in my direction on the same ramp there. And I was like, oh no. And he got closer and closer. And finally he got near me and he glared at me like if looks could kill kind of thing. And I was like, what the hell? I mean, what does he think I'm going to do? So anyway, I walked by him. And that was one of my experiences with Neil Young. Well, I'll tell you the other one. When I was a kid, I saw Neil Young in the Boston Garden, and he was performing with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but he did a solo set, and he's there sitting on a stool playing guitar acoustic by himself, and he starts singing "Old Man," and the audience starts clapping in time to it, "Old Man" there, and they're clapping in time, and Neil Young, the surly son of a gun that he was, he stopped playing, and he looked at the audience. He said, I don't reckon I recall hearing no clapping when I wrote this song. Just chastised the audience. And my friend I was with, I said, what a jerk that guy is. He says, well, he has epilepsy. He might have a seizure from the clapping. And I was like, what? He gets standing ovations every night, and he never falls down. So anyway, that's a little beside the point, because the real point is I was in Sting's dressing room, and his drummer was there as well, a fella named Vinnie Colaiuta. I think that's how you pronounce it. A very, very good drummer. I saw Sting so many times live in the course of my duties that after a while I would just stand there and watch the drummer. The whole set, I would stare at the drummer and watch him because he was so good. And he noticed that after a while. He said, hey, kid, what's up with you? You want to be a drummer? I said, no, I'm just bored. Anyway, so Vinny's in there, and Sting's in there, and I'm in there. And Robert Plant comes in. And so Sting goes, oh, Robert, how do you do? Nice to see you, Robert. And Sting goes, I want you to meet my drummer, Vinny. And, well, I should back up a little bit. Vinny had a little bit of a weight problem at the time. I wouldn't say he was obese, but, he was fat, I guess you'd say. I think now he's skinny. But at the time, he was having a little trouble. And he was trying to starve himself and stuff, but it wasn't working. And one time I go into the thing where they have the food there, and he's eating like rice pudding. And I was like, hey, what the hell are you doing there? And he says, well, sometimes you have to fool your metabolism by eating something really delicious and fattening. And then your metabolism will react to that and freak out, and then you can lose weight. And I was like, that is a diet theory that I haven't heard before. Anyway, eat fat food and get skinny. So anyway, Robert Plant comes into the dressing room and Vinny's there. Sting introduces Robert to Vinny. Robert, I want you to meet my drummer, Vinnie Colaiuta. And fucking Robert Plant looks at Vinny and he goes, oh, another fat drummer. I think he's John Bonham was probably in the back of his head there at the moment, another fat drummer. And poor Vinny, he looked at Robert Plant, who was probably one of his heroes, but he looked at him and said, well, at least my face doesn't look like a road map. Because even back then in 1995 or whatever it was, you know, Robert Plant was no longer the golden god that he claimed he had been in the 70s. He was starting to show his age a little bit. But anyway, that's the story of a little conflict that I witnessed. And I reckon that's about it.